Mark Spadform, President of the Greater Syracuse Labor Council. We represent over 50 local unions in the Syracuse area, representing about 35,000 union members.
Can you, for those of us who might be fearful, can you expound what the rights are or what they can't and should not be doing in terms of what ICE is doing?
Well, first off, I mean, they're terrorizing communities, which is wrong. These are people who come here for a variety of different reasons. A lot of time it's economic to work, but they could just be here because of, things have gone bad back in their home countries or what have you, and they're trying to just live their life and just be human beings. So the fact that they're just doing this in a way that's unconstitutional, illegal, and what I'm really proud of today was the breadth of people who came here to stand up for, to basically say that this is a community that not only, that this should not happen, but also it welcomes immigrants.
My name is Jessica. I'm with the Workers Center of Central New York, and we fight for the rights of immigrant workers here in upstate New York.
Nice. Can you talk about what's been going on with the laws that are being broken on a daily and consistent basis, and how our people need to be educated and the fear that goes along with not being educated as to our rights?
Absolutely. It is outrageous what is going on. And I know, over the year we have always seen problems with law enforcement, and so ICE is no exception. And they are just ramping it up right now, violating people's rights, separating families, taking parents away from their children, arresting children, detaining children as young as 6 years old. And we need everybody to know that right now in our communities we won't stand for this, and that if ICE comes knocking at the doors, we don't want anybody to open their door for ICE, whether you are a citizen or not. We don't want anybody talking to ICE, giving them information, supporting them in what they're doing. If you see ICE on the street, we want people to document what they're doing, follow them, videotape them, see where they're going, ask them questions. We don't want them to be able to operate easily in our communities and target people who are just here working and living their lives.
Grind and I got this bone to pick. I don't wanna mince my words, oh no, cause that is politics. Your lies and hypocrisy in the name of democracy. We're living in a world so carnal. You are the ultimate Gina, yeah. You are you the catfish. You the catfish. From the bottomless pit, you and you, for real, yeah. The real terrorist, the real terrorist, the real terrorist, the real terrorist.
Of terror and chaos against immigrants, children, parents, families, workers, documented and undocumented, workers who've been left without status because our Congress has failed for decades to provide legal pathways, leaving people to try to survive in the margins as the best that they can. We have seen fathers taken, detained on their way to drop their children at school in Fulton, Here in Syracuse, we had a father taken, leaving his 13-year-old U.S. citizen son with no family here in Syracuse. A brave family friend has stepped up to take him in while his family in Guatemala figures out how to pick up the pieces. We have seen mothers detained, never coming home at the end of the day to put their children to bed. Workers are being stalked, followed from their workplaces by unmarked vehicles, surrounded by masked men without uniforms. Cowards doing cowardly work. There have been incidents on Salina Street, on Thompson Road, on Westcott Street. Construction workers, restaurant workers, hotel workers in our community. In the past month, dozens of workers just a half an hour north of here have been detained on their way to work at packing plants. We have had members detained with their children as young as 6 years old. Including a U.S. citizen child from Jefferson County held in a cell at Batavia with her family. This is what's happening, folks. This is what's happening. We have seen raids in the North Country on farms, at lumber mills. We have seen employers who are not protecting their workers. We have seen employers who are complicit in turning over their workers, the workers who for decades, with their sweat and with their hard work, have sustained these businesses in our communities. We responded a few weeks ago to a worker death in the North Country. And I will tell you, this worker did not make it to see his 25th birthday. And a significant factor in his death is the current anti-immigrant climate that we are seeing in our community. Last May, we responded to another farm worker death in the North Country at Flack Farms in St. Lawrence County. A young woman who had only been here for a few months, who was working alone, tending to a newborn calf. She was charged and trampled by the mother cow. Flack Farms did not report that death as they are required by law. We reached out to OSHA, who initiated an investigation. Last week, there was a raid at Flack Farms. Among the workers taken was a worker who collaborated in that investigation, who found his fallen co-worker. He was transferred from St. Lawrence County all the way down to Broome County in the southern tier. Despite the fact that OSHA had issued last year a statement of interest supporting his application for deferred action because he is collaborating in an ongoing investigation of the labor conditions at that farm. And although it's not local, we need to call out and recognize what's going on with our colleagues and organizers around the country. The last Tuesday, our colleague and compañero, Alfredo Nelo Juarez Seferino, a farm worker here, working since the age of 12 in Washington State, a leader and founder of Familias Unidas por Justicia, independent farm worker union, who was detained driving his partner to work. When he tried to exercise his rights, I smashed his window and forcefully detained him. This is what our members, what our families, what our community members are standing up against, and we have got to have their backs. Literally, like Kayla said, we can't make this shit up. We could not invent more outrageous, more egregious things for ICE to be doing in our community. On February 9th, in the North Country, a woman who was 6 months pregnant, on her way to church with her husband, literally, folks, on her way to church with her husband, they were detained by ICE. They have an open asylum case. They had an open asylum case with filings pending, not due until March 7th. What is ICE doing? Detaining people who are going through immigration court and doing everything they have been asked to do. They were detained and separated, and his wife was abducted and disappeared. We never were informed where she was. She showed up online as in custody. In custody where? We had advocates, family, her pastor calling Border Patrol, and they would never tell anybody where she was. They would not confirm if she had seen a doctor. She missed her upcoming appointment with her doctor for her pregnancy. She was held for 18 days. She never had a phone call, not even to her lawyer, until the morning of February 27th at 3 in the morning. Her brother, who is a member of our organization, received a video from Guatemala where she had been deported. And as Kayla mentioned, we are seeing not just standing by, we are seeing active collusion from local law enforcement in Oswego County. Shame! Shame! In Broome County. Shame! Shame! In St. Lawrence County. Shame! And as we have heard, on Thursday night on video, we saw 2 SPD patrol officers standing by their vehicle, watching over ICE while they detain people on Westcott Street in Syracuse. Shame! Bystanders tell us that SPD officers shook their hands and congratulated them on their detentions in our community. So are immigrants welcome here? Yes. Are immigrants welcome here? Yes. And how are we going to make them feel that again? Because we have members who have stopped going to work. We have members who are leaving New York State, who are going to live in other states where their relatives have told them that it is safer. Church events are being canceled. Social events are being canceled in the community. Will we stand up for the workers in this community? Yes. We know through our members where immigrants work in this community, and I will guarantee to you that 9 out of 10 people who live in this county frequent a business that depends on the labor of undocumented immigrants. So what will we do? What will our mayor do? What will our common councilors do? What will our county legislators do to stand up to this? Because we are calling for it to stop. And we will be looking for answers, not just in your words. We will be looking to your actions. What will you do? We are calling on everybody after this. Call your common counselor, call the mayor's office, call your county legislator, whether you are in Onondaga County or Syracuse. This is happening everywhere in upstate New York. There are rallies happening in Binghamton, in Rochester, in Syracuse, in Buffalo, in Oswego next week. We will be everywhere calling out this injustice to our community. And we are calling for New York for all. No collusion, no local resources. We need protections for our community, and we need it now. Immigrant rights are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. Immigrant rights are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. Thank you.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what resistance looks like.
right, what a beautiful thing to be here today, and what terrible, terrible, terrible circumstances we are in. My name is Sal Curran, and I'm the Executive Director of the Volunteer Lawyers Project of Central New York, where we provide free legal assistance to immigrants throughout Central New York and the North Country. And so today, I'm here to say we are facing a reckoning. The Trump administration has begun a lawless campaign of mass deportation, mass detention, and an all-out assault on immigrant rights. And when immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? That's right. They are ignoring our constitutional protections. This is an assault on due process, and it's an assault on our values. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Families are being torn apart. Children are left without parents, and people are sent back to dangerous, even life-threatening conditions that they have a lawful right to be protected from without due process that our Constitution guarantees. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? And we lawyers are fighting back for our immigrant community members. So I am here with an urgent plea today. New York must increase its investment in immigrant defense. Right now, there are over 170,000 immigrants in New York that face deportation without legal representation. And these cases are becoming more complicated. They're becoming more urgent because people are being sent away to dangerous conditions faster than before. And we are already at a breaking point. New York has long been a leader in protecting immigrants, but leadership means action. And action in this case means funding, and that's why we call on Governor Hochul and our legislature to invest a full $165 million this year and support the Access to Representation Act. That's right. We are in the final days of the budget negotiations, so we need each of you here today to call your representatives, call everybody in Albany and tell them to act now, because when immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? I want to tell you a few stories from community members. A young man who had been abused in his home country came here alone and was immediately put in deportation proceedings. Our team, our lawyers, one of whom I just saw, worked together with a pro bono attorney around the clock to help him file for special immigrant juvenile status just days before he would have aged out of relief. We filed in time, his deportation proceeding was stopped, and he's on the pathway to lawful permanent status. Now that is what happens. That is what happens when we get to use the law the way it's supposed to be used, and when we have lawyers to do the work. We had another client who had applied for asylum due to gender-based violence, but took a turn the wrong way, leaving their immigration court proceeding and ended up at the bridge to Canada. And they got detained. They had an active asylum case pending, and they got detained. They got sent to Batavia for 3 weeks, an overcrowded detention center. And let's call it what it is, it's basically a prison. It took us 3 weeks to get in front of a judge, and we were able to get that person out on bond. Because that's what happens when you have real defense for these immigrants. But we had another mother that we didn't get to work with up in the North Country that Jess made a reference to. This woman was driving home. She had already been in deportation proceedings, and it was administratively stopped. She thought she was okay, because the judge said, you know what, you're not a priority, it's dangerous for you to go home, you have a U.S. citizen kid, you need to stay here and raise your U.S. citizen kid. She hit a deer going home and called the police to get a police report so she could file for insurance. Do you know what the police did? They called CBP. You know what CBP did? They detained her, and now she's in Louisiana. She's been there for over a month. She can't get home to her family, and she can't get out on bond. What is this world we're in? This can't keep happening. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? That's right. And that's why we're demanding that 165 million so that we can respond to this insanity. We're demanding the Access to Representation Act so that we make sure that everybody who gets caught up in this insanity has representation, and so that we can fight for their right to due process, their constitutional rights. Folks, at the end of the day, this is about family unity, this is about safety, and this is about human dignity. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? The time to act is now, Syracuse. It's now, Onondaga County. We cannot be complicit in this cruelty that is happening. We cannot continue to allow our community members to be taken from us. We must ensure that every immigrant in this state has full protection of the law, and we must stand against injustice. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up like that!
What do we do?
Stand up like that!
What do we do?
Stand up like that!
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Mina Aguilar. Next, I'm going to call up Mina Aguilar from Worker Center. Is Mina here?
My name is Mina Aguilar, and I am with the Worker Center, Central New York. I'm going to be giving a testimony about a member who's here in Syracuse, Lorena. She won her asylum case and is trying to get her permanent residency. But because of the federal government, the processing of residency applications is on pause, without justification. Mi nombre es Lorena, y yo he visto cuánto nos están afectando las redadas de inmigración y la separación de familias. El miedo en mis paisanos cuando salen a trabajar, ven para todos lados pensando que un carro los persigue como que fueran unos criminales, con el temor y la necesidad de luchar por sus vidas día con día, porque hay que trabajar para sobrevivir. No nos pedimos que nos mantengan, simplemente nos den la oportunidad de trabajar libremente. No le hacemos daño a nadie, pero es duro ver cómo están nuestros paisanos, verlos detenidos sin ningún derecho, solo por querer salir adelante. Otros no se atreven a ir a la tienda, más que todo infunden el terror en todas las personas. Y cuando están detenidos, están con la sombra que irá a pasar con las personas que si pueden luchar aún o no. My name is Lorena, and I have seen how much immigration raids and family separation are affecting us. The fear of my people when they go to work, they look all around them thinking that a car is following them as if they were criminals, with the fear and the need to fight for their lives day after day because we have to work to survive. We are not asking you to take care of us, just give us the opportunity to work freely. We are not hurting anyone, but it is hard to see how our people are being detained with no rights when all they want to do is have a better life. Others don't even dare to go to the store, fear is being instilled in everyone. And when they are detained, they're left to wonder what will happen to them and whether they can still fight or not. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? I'm going to pass it to my amazing colleague now, Mohammed, who has been doing the work of Know Your Rights trainings in our communities. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming out today on this cold day. As you see around you, our community shows up and we do not back down. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I do in a professional, in my profession and how that applies to what we do, what we're fighting for here. As manager for community engagement at New York Immigration Coalition for Central New York, I spend a lot of my time giving Know Your Rights trainings to community members, organizations, workplaces, knowing our rights when it comes to talking to immigration enforcement and law enforcement. And the importance of knowing our rights and the importance of sharing this information is inherent in that this is exactly what they're using, the tactic that they're using to round people up. They are looking for their chaos, for their madness, to incite emotional responses, panic, alarm, and for them to, in that moment, overreach, overstep, and infringe on our rights. Is this the America that we want? No! Is this what I wanted to do when I realized that this is all I have to offer them? Because the rights that I have to share are inherent. They are constitutional rights. A lot of us know them. A lot of us take them for granted. But they are pretty simple. It's the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. If anybody knows them, say it with me. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse search. And you have the right to know if and why you're being detained. And when I first had this material, I was appalled that I didn't have more to offer in terms of protection. But it immediately became clear to me that knowing these rights is one of the best ways to protect ourselves and prepare for these interactions. In upstate New York, we know what to do when ICE is on the way. What do? We get salt and we put it on the street, right? These rights are the salt that we need to keep ICE out of our community. On a more serious note, last summer, at the end of June, within the same week as the first official presidential debate, we experienced a death in a community not too far from ours in Utica. Did anybody hear about the teen in Utica? Naya. Naya was, for those of you who don't know, Naya was a 13-year-old who was approached by local law enforcement, didn't know his rights, and was innocent for the crime that they were investigating, was not even the person that they were trying to find, but he started to run when he saw the police, and he was killed innocently by the police, people who are taxpayer dollars fund their salaries. That's right. If we make more of an effort to make sure everyone of all ages knows their rights, knows that in this country we have specific expectations for our interactions with law enforcement, for our interactions with the detention system, that is the only way that we can keep them from overriding them. They are banking on people not being informed. They are exploiting people's unawareness. And the best testament to this, for me, was validated when Tom Homan, what do we think of Tom Homan? When Tom Homan went on CNN and complained and said, oh, it's so hard for my ICE agents to provide the numbers that this administration is boasting that they can provide. Because why? Why is it so hard? Because everybody knew their rights. That's what he said. He says everybody knows their rights and it's making it difficult. Is this how it's supposed to work? This is not how it's supposed to work. Well, this is how it's supposed to work, and no. But the point is that knowing our rights is working. Getting this information out there is working. And when we see these exceptions and when we see people's rights being infringed and these great oversteps, the real point is to make us feel powerless and to make us yield our rights, to make it even easier for them. Are we here to make it easy for ICE to do their jobs? That's what I thought. Are we here to make it easy for ICE to invade our communities and rip them apart? No! That's what I thought. So let's demand this from our city and make sure that everybody knows that Syracuse has always been and will always be immigrant strong and made from the fabric of immigrant communities. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to wrap us up here, and I think the only thing that really, Mark's on. I didn't know you were here. Okay, our next speaker is Mark. Mark Spatafor from I.C.E. 1199.
So I am Mark Spatafor, president. I'm also president of the Greater Syracuse Labor Council, representing over 35,000 union members across Onondaga and Madison County. And I am the grandchild of immigrants. And before I do my comments, so yesterday there's this business that that unions get their stuff from. Sorry, not the cultural workers, Andy. But they just randomly out of the blue just send me this sticker that says I stand with immigrants. And for me it shows that, okay, the universe, your faith tradition, whatever, God is here today and here today with us because we are on the right side and the righteous side. But this is so random, but it fits. And it fits today. And if I could just share a personal story, is that okay? So, speaking of being the grandchild of immigrants, so I'm doing some family research, genealogy, what have you. Why did my family and all my grandparents came from different parts of Italy? Why did they leave? So I found one of them actually ended up working in the marble mines out in Colorado. I found one of them, my great grandfather was a wealthier person, and my great grandmother was a servant. So I think things happened. Then I found that my grandfather left in 1922 in Italy. What happened in 1922 in Italy? Any history people here? Mussolini came to power. So here you have the product of economic reasons why they left, love, and politics. Does that sound familiar of why people are here today? Yes. When Kayla was talking about people who just want to be here to work, that was my grandparents. When we hear about families being torn apart, that's my family. When we talk about the political unrest, well, we're seeing it right here, my brothers, sisters, and siblings here. This is what's happening in our community. And what ended up happening was they ended up right here in Syracuse, New York. And they helped build this city. And you know what else they did? They had their family, they built a community that should be coming together. So when Syracuse says they're a sanctuary city, show it. Show me you're a sanctuary city. Prove that you're a sanctuary city. When Jessica says, call the mayor, call your city councilor, call your county legislator, that's what we need to do, because you got to show it. Show that you are. And let me say this, because we were talking about the employers and how and let me say this, we're hearing this on our side too. The employers are coming to us and saying they're coming down on us. I don't know if I can protect the workers here. My thing is that you have to stand up and you have to show it. You want these workers to make you money? You want these workers to actually provide the services that you need and wherever they are working? Then you got to stand up like we're standing up today. Because this is our community. And no matter where you came from, and people are, I could look here at the crowd around, we all came from different places. It doesn't matter if you came in off of a slave ship. It doesn't matter if you came in off an immigrant ship. Right now, we are all in the same boat together, and we need to stand together for all of us. So what do we do when rights are under attack?